Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. We'll talk about the contempt of court hearing against Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Also get to know a woman honored for being a leader in print and online media. And in Sansa Cultura, SOC, an exhibit exploring Latino influence in American popular music ends its national tour here in the Valley. All this coming up next on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Thank you for joining us. This week, the contempt of court hearing started for Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Sheriff is accused of violating court orders in a racial profiling lawsuit. Here to talk about the hearing is Paul Charlton, former United States attorney and a partner at the law firm of Steptoe and Johnson. Paul, welcome to Horizonte.
Thanks for having me.
Right now, we've had, as we go to air, and this show is being taped a little early, 2 days of testimony. One of those days, the second one involving at least an hour's worth of testimony from the sheriff. Kind of bring us up to date on what we've heard so far, and then let's talk about the significance of all of that.
This is the second day, as we sit here now, of testimony. We can expect a third and perhaps a fourth day. There have been a number of deputies who have testified so far. Sheriff Arpaio had his first appearance, as you say, testified for about an hour. The issue is, has the sheriff's office, the sheriff and his chief, Jerry Sheridan, violated the court's order relating to this civil lawsuit? And in particular, Jose, what's going to be of great interest, I think, to the public and to the judge in particular, did he violate these orders willfully?
Well, and you know, I think people have trouble with the first issue, or may, because the sheriff and his deputy said, oh, yes, we did. We admit, let's not have the hearing. It's already been decided we're wasting taxpayer money by going forward with that, which at least on the surface seems like a reasonable proposal. Why didn't the judge accept that?
It was a tactically sound maneuver by Sheriff Arpaio and Mr. Sheridan's lawyers, because the expectation was we are likely to be found to have violated the court's order, at least the office is. The only issue is going to be, did we do so willfully? Did we intend to violate the judge's orders? And so, if we did so because we delegated our authority, because people below us didn't follow the orders according to our wishes, then perhaps there is some sort of civil remedy, a fine perhaps, some other additional order. That's what the sheriff's office, the sheriff in particular, hopes that the judge will find. That's why they were willing to admit to at least that degree of violation. What they want to avoid, and I think the reason that they asked that the proceedings not go forward, was a finding by the judge that they've willfully violated the court order, because that, Jose, carries with it the risk of criminal contempt, and criminal contempt carries with it the risk of incarceration.
Now, you're not directly involved in this matter, but do you think it was a good judgment by the plaintiff's lawyers not to accept the stipulation because the sheriff was admitting that there had been violations? The sheriff was willing to pay, between him and his deputy, $100,000 out of their own pocket to a civil rights organization. They were willing to stipulate to changes in procedures, and yet the plaintiff said, no, we want to go forward.
If the expectation is that the evidence is going to show a willful violation, and that punishment, that is to say incarceration, may be a better outcome than simply paying a fine, then I'd say it was a sound decision on the plaintiff's lawyers' parts to say, we want a hearing, Your Honor, we want to know what the evidence is, and we want to hear from Sheriff Arpaio personally.
So what's your assessment so far? Is it going the way that plaintiffs might have hoped?
I think it's certainly not going the way that Sheriff Arpaio would have hoped. There was testimony yesterday from one of his deputies who had a leadership role within this entity that was responsible for stopping people who were here without authorization. This sergeant told the judge that I talked to Sheriff Arpaio personally, told him that we had detained unauthorized aliens and that we had to release them, and the sheriff said, I want you to hold them. The sergeant told the sheriff, that's a violation of the court's order, and you're giving me, Sheriff Arpaio, an unlawful order, and I refuse to obey that. That's the kind of evidence that the plaintiffs would have hoped for, and Sheriff Arpaio would have hoped was never heard.
Now, the cross-examination revealed that this was a deputy who has been passed over for promotion, maybe has a motive to maybe paint the sheriff in a bad light. How effective do you think that may have been?
It's hard to know. The judge here is going to be the finder of fact. If the judge finds that this was a willful violation, he'll refer this to the U.S. Attorney's Office. The U.S. Attorney's Office is the entity that in the first instance has the responsibility of prosecuting the case if Judge Snow believes that there is a willful violation. All of that's going to be part of the ingredient for Judge Snow. This isn't going to be a case in which Judge Snow needs to find beyond a reasonable doubt that Sheriff Arpaio violated his order. Judge Snow need only find, some of the case law says, probable cause to believe that there was a willful violation. It'll be up to the prosecutor later on to prove, if appropriate, that Sheriff Arpaio violated this order willfully.
The other big development on the first day was Tom Liddy, one of the lawyers who's been defending the county and the sheriff for years now, said, I have to withdraw. I've got a conflict of interest. Decision today or the second day by the judge that, okay, you're not going to be the lead, but you're going to participate. Anyway, what do you think's going on there?
It's an interesting request by Mr. Liddy and a bit of a nuanced one. Mr. Liddy argued that there was some issue as it relates to which entity he could represent, the sheriff's office or the county board of supervisors or the county, as what in legal terms is known as a jural entity. So Mr. Liddy is arguing that he can no longer represent the sheriff's office because of this legal peculiarity. Judge Snow has said, I'm not going to let you out completely. I want you to assist Sheriff Arpaio's lawyer, Ms. Iafrate, until such time as I can make a final decision. And so Mr. Liddy was in court today assisting in the defense of Joe Arpaio to a limited degree.
So the other big development is the sheriff was finally on the stand. Observers said he seemed to be pretty low-key, one-word answers. Also some suggestion that he was dodging the questions to the point where the judge told him he needed to be more responsive.
Not unusual for this sheriff. He's been deposed, as you know, many times in civil lawsuits. He has two pat answers, I don't recall, or I delegated the authority to individuals below me.
But not the sheriff's image that he paints of himself, you know, kind of the defiant, blustering guy, at least out in the public.
Those are two very different images. The kind of person you'll see at a press conference who likes to portray himself as an individual very much in charge, and the individual in court who likes to say that I give everybody else responsibility for running the office. Those are, as you point out, different characters completely.
What about the substance of his testimony? Anything remarkable?
I don't know that I heard that there was anything particularly remarkable, except to say that, yes, these orders of yours, Judge Snow, were in fact violated, that we didn't follow the rules as you had set them out, but I didn't do so willfully. I thought others were taking care of that responsibility. I was following the directions of my orders, of my lawyers. So he is deflecting responsibility to people below him and to his lawyers.
He doesn't seem to be accepting personal blame.
That's correct. And I think that's what his lawyers were trying to get the judge to buy off on and the plaintiff's lawyers to buy off on before this hearing took place. Allow him to admit that the agency itself, the sheriff's office, violated your order, but not that he did so willfully.
So you said there may be another couple of days worth of testimony. The sheriff isn't done. What else are we likely to hear?
Well, I think we're going to hear much more testimony from Sheriff Arpaio and from other individuals who are in leadership positions within that agency. Mr. Sheridan has yet to testify. I'm very interested to hear what his thoughts were about who had responsibility for enacting the judge's orders. And then finally, we're going to await the decision of the judge, who will be the finder of fact here and make the determination as to what appropriate sanction should be meted out here. Is the judge going to say, I'm satisfied that a civil remedy will take place, we can impose some kind of a fine, I can order you not to do this again? Or is the judge going to say, I think there is sufficient evidence here that you, Sheriff Arpaio, willfully violated these orders, and I'm going to refer this for prosecution?
So ways to go, but a fascinating case. I'm sure we'll have you back to talk about where we're at when we get to the end of this.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us.
To find out more information about what's on Horizonte, go to azpbs.org and click on the Horizonte tab at the top of the screen. There you can access many features to become a more informed Horizonte viewer. Watch interviews by clicking on the video button or by scrolling down to the bottom of the page for the most recent segments. Learn about more specific topics like arts and culture and immigration. You can also find out what's on Horizonte for the upcoming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or you want to buy a video, that's all on our website too. Other features include our collection of website links and a special page for educators. While you're there, show your support for Horizonte with just one click. Discover all that's on Horizonte. Visit azpbs.org, Horizonte today.
Four women will be honored at the 7th Annual Arizona Latina Trailblazers event presented by the Raul H. Castro Institute of Phoenix College. Join us as we get to know Elvira Espinosa, one of the honorees. Elvira, congratulations on your award.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, Governor Castro just passed away. Does that
Yes.
add anything to the significance of the award and the event, which is coming up, what, April 29th?
Yes, yes, because you know it's the institute was named on his name, and being himself a trailblazer, he was the first and only a Latino governor. To me, it's going to be very significant to be there and to honor him, and to pay tribute for all the work he did for our community.
Well, certainly the recognition of women of your caliber, and all of the honorees are very distinguished, is a tribute, I would think, to his name.
Yes.
Your career as a journalist is fascinating. I mean, you were quite accomplished, well established in Mexico. Let's kind of summarize your career there, and then let's talk about what brought you to the United States.
Yes, I was 17 years old when I was offered my first journalism job in Novedades, which was one of the biggest daily newspapers in Mexico City. But I was offered a job in a small magazine called Última Moda. It was small but national. And my first job was editorial coordinator. And I was 17 years old, I was very young, and I was managing 25 other women. And it was hard, but fascinating. From there, I left Novedades. I was there for 5 years, and because I was offered the position of national editor for Vanidades, which at my time was the largest women's magazine in the country. And that took me to another different level, because I started
Kind of the Spanish equivalent of what, Cosmo or Vogue or
to
something?
Cosmo, to
Yeah.
Cosmo, to Good Housekeeping. It's a mix, and I started dealing with people in the high levels, entrepreneurs, politicians, people from the entertainment business, and that opened up a very big door for me. I left Vanidades to go back to my editorial home, Vanidades, because I was offered a very good position, public relations director of 14 magazines, published by Novedades. But then I was married at that time, and my ex-husband decided to go to live to Sonora. And we did. We were there for 2 years, and then the first devaluation came, and then the second came, and we were there. So we came here. He came first, and then I came here.
And when would that have been?
It was exactly in 1982, because we were undocumented, and we were part of the amnesty in 1986, and the cut was 1982 people that came to the United States before 1982. So I remember really well that year.
And you established yourselves in the publishing business.
Yes.
And journalism, kind of
Yes.
picked up right where you left off in Mexico.
Not at the beginning, but within a year, we launched a magazine with a partner called Unidos Magazine, and then the partnership didn't work, and we launched our own magazine, which was Cambio, Hispanic Bilingual Magazine. And it was a hit because at that time there was not a model like Cambio, and it was a bilingual concept, and made by journalists and working with all the issues in the Hispanic community, and it was very well received. I was there for 8 years, and then the civil separation came. So I left Cambio to start a public relations company.
And eventually you ended up being part of La Voz,
Yes.
a major Spanish language
Yes.
newspaper based here
Yes.
in Arizona. Tell us
Right.
about that experience.
I started in Ashland Media, the original owner of La Voz, in 1999 as co-publisher of TV Más, which was the core publication of Ashland Media. La Voz was born on 2000, And I was just a column writer for La Voz. And on the year 2001, David Kay, the owner of Fashion Media, decided to merge all the companies, and he named me publisher of the company. I was overseeing La Voz and TV Más.
And you were honored, recognized for your accomplishments as a publisher and editor and everything else. In a publication, we've got a picture we want to put up on the screen of the cover of this magazine, where recognizing your accomplishments. This
is my I think my legacy for La Voz. It was a supplement that I did to celebrate 100 years of the statehood of Arizona. And it was hard to me to put it out because there was no money. So I had to go out and sell it. And it was my first attempt, and very successful, because as a publisher, I couldn't, walk that fine line, but I decided to sell an editorial concept without compromising the integrity of the content. So that was the result. And we printed 200,000 copies in Spanish and 200,000 copies in English. And this special edition, it's all over the United States, the universities, the colleges, and to me, that's my legacy.
Well, and I had in mind a different cover, one that had you on it, but this is, you're right, this is a significant contribution to the community here. You're doing other things now. You've
Yes.
moved on from La Voz. Tell us about your latest venture.
Yeah, I launched a online magazine called mixedvoces.com. And it is a publication made by Latinos for Latinos. And we include all the topics that are relevant for our community: education, immigration, health, parenting,
and some pretty sensitive ones, including domestic violence.
Yes, we have special issues and special packages. Domestic violence was the first one we launched last year to be part of the Domestic Violence Month. And we decided to do it in English because we recognize that this problem affects women and men, Spanish and English speaking in the Latino community.
Well, you talked about the legacy you think you've already established. Sounds like you've got a lot more to add to that. Our congratulations. Felicidades on your
Gracias.
work. Well
Gracias.
deserved.
Thank you
and
very
thanks
much.
for joining us on Horizonte to talk about it.
Thank you.
Watch sneak previews of what's coming soon to 8. Go to azpbs.org/previews today.
In Sounds of Cultura SOC, the Smithsonian Institution Traveling Exhibition Service brings American Sabor, Latinos in U.S. popular music, to the Arizona Latino Arts and Cultural Center, or ALAC as it's known, in Phoenix. Joining me to talk about the exhibit are Francisco X. Gutierrez, Board Chair for ALAC, and Elizabeth Toledo, Education Director for ALAC. Thanks for joining us to talk about this fascinating exhibit. We're going to run some pictures on the screen while we're talking about it. But Francisco, tell me first how it came to be that this exhibit that's appeared all over the country and once before in Phoenix at the MIM, how it came to be at ALAC.
Well, we're very excited about the exhibit, and ALAC's been around for about 5 years, but we've been working on it for about 10. And I think it's an example of the hard work that the board members and the community have done to create ALAC. And there's been a great need for the organization and a great response. And I think that's why the Smithsonian chose ALAC to have the exhibit there.
And Elizabeth, we've got some of the pictures on the screen already. We're looking at people like Carlos Santana. There are exhibits in the setting in ALAC, and some other stars, Celia Cruz there, and Ricky Martin.
Yes.
And Gloria Estefan. So what do people see when they go see the exhibit?
Well, they're going to see a combination of the lives and what these artists, the ones that had more potential to explode here in the United States, from different areas. It's from Texas, from New York, people from California like Carlos Santana, and we also had the Cuban music in Miami.
Yeah, you've got Dizzy Arnaz on the screen.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Celia Cruz, who was also, she was very famous in Florida, but she was also very famous in New York and then throughout all of Latin America.
And I know I've seen montages of Selena and other things. The crowd you're attracting, I understand the numbers have been very significant, but how would you describe the people who are coming to see the exhibit? We have
many ages that are coming. I expected to see an older crowd, more of the baby boomers to be there, because a lot of this music is from when we were growing up. But the one thing about Latino music is that our children grow with it and they recognize the music. So we do have, of course, an adult crowd, which is a larger crowd, but we have also a lot of children or younger group, teenagers and stuff that really, really relate to the music. So it's been interesting. The reaction has been interesting.
Francisco, you've, in addition to being a board member of ALAC and the head of it, your legal practice has involved you in the entertainment business. Anything, though, that surprised you about this exhibit? Things you didn't know, things that you think the public at large would be surprised to know?
There are actually a lot of surprises because it covers the era from 1940 to the present. But I will tell you two things real quickly. My own personal experience is I got to meet Selena a month before she died at the Tejano Music Awards. And I also had the opportunity to have the great songwriter Lalo Guerrero perform in my own office. We had a small reception. So it just brings that all together. And
we've got the Selena exhibit on the screen
yes,
right now.
And so to be able to see this exhibit here in Phoenix and to read about it and to share that knowledge and education with the community is very exciting for us.
And Francisco's talking about education. You actually have a specific educational component,
Yes, we
trying to
do.
get schools involved. Tell us about that.
Yes, we do. We were trying to get the schools involved, and we're trying to connect with all the school districts out there for all ages, because it's history. It's history of the United States. It's everything is involved in music, and like in any other art. We have students already that are coming, and we have workshops right there at the gallery. We also can take workshops to the schools. So there are many ways of doing this. The great thing about where ALAC is situated, you can get through with the light rail.
Downtown Phoenix.
Downtown Phoenix. So it's very good. All anybody has to do is just contact ALAC, and then we have it in both languages, in English and Spanish.
And I want to talk about one of the other things I think is really neat that you guys are doing. It's this music competition for the young people.
There's going to be a music competition May 2nd, which is Saturday, from 11 to 4 o'clock at the Herberger Theater. And it's open to all ages of students for all grades, from kindergarten all the way up to college. And so you can have groups perform, or duets, or soloists perform, musical or vocals.
And the prize opportunities are?
It's a great opportunity. It's Ford Foundation are the people that are funding this. the first prize, the main prize is $5,000, and then there's 5 $1,000 prizes after that. There's also a lot of exposure for upcoming artists that want to perform. So we have this Saturday, in fact, which is April 25th, we're going to have auditions for anybody that wants to be part of this competition.
Sounds
And it's
terrific.
free.
My congratulations to both of you. I'm sorry we're out of time, but it sounds wonderful. It runs through July 5th, right?
Correct.
Great. Thank you both so much for joining us on
Thank you
Horizonte
for
to
having
talk
us.
about it. And that is our show for tonight from all of us here at 8 and Horizonte. Thank you for watching. I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.